Start there. Okay. Oh, get everything pulled up. Do you have the chat pulled up?
I don't, but I can here in just a sec. I'm trying to get my notes pulled up here.
What do you have on your screen that's white?
It's where I've connected to Google Docs, where it's super fucking white.
Like through Chrome?
Yeah.
Oh, you might try that that add-on. Dark Reader?
No, it's fine. If I put it over on the left-hand side, it's not as bad.
Well, I was just thinking, like, I know you like dark mode.
Yeah, it didn't work for some reason.
Oh, the dark mode thing?
Yeah. I
Oh,
couldn't get it to work.
oh, I don't know. Okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
You're good. I'm good. Ready? All right, let's
Yep.
roll the intro. Hey, welcome everyone. Hope everyone's having a good day. How have you been?
I've been awesome.
Oh,
I mean, we've had a bit of a break, but
well, that'll happen when your cat suddenly gets diabetes.
yeah, poor Walkie.
Oh.
But thankfully we
Yeah,
have that under control.
My cat got diabetes, so thankfully it seems to be under control. So, all right. Well, I want to start out with asking you what have you been playing other than Chrono Cross?
Oh, actually, I recently dove back into Magic the Gathering Arena because I'm insane. And thanks to Aaron Hansen playing some on Game Grumps, I was like, I really missed that game. So
Oh yeah.
I've been playing that some, and it's just as predatory as I remember it being. But it's still, they've got enough different stuff to where it doesn't feel horrible all the time.
I mean, I remember
So,
playing the physical card game as a kid and just being like, I don't have any money. I can't buy new cards.
yeah, thankfully there are strategies that you can employ to where you can build up your collection. It still has the issue of you basically have to spend money to get even a chance at what you want. It's even worse than like physical Magic because there's no way to buy individual cards at all.
Right. They
So
don't have like a shop where you can buy individual cards.
no, not at all. The
See, I
only thing
would.
that you can do is just basically
Okay,
gamble loot box style.
can you trade cards?
No,
You
you
can't.
can't
Oh my
trade.
god!
No,
Like
nothing at all.
that's crazy to me because it's like
Yeah.
I still remember my brother. He was telling me he played in middle school, and one guy had a card that was like all in Chinese or Japanese or something like that, and so nobody knew what it actually said. And so he just made up an ability for it. It was basically his "I win" card.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Um, I was just like that's great. Anything else you've been playing?
Oh boy, what else have I been playing?
Cat.
Apex Legends occasionally. Uh, Shit, that's pretty much it, to be honest. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't. Yeah, I mean, started a new job and school's back in as well, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't
So
had a
you're.
haven't had a whole lot of time to play stuff.
I played through all of Halo Infinite, and
Oh, right, yeah,
oh my god, Halo is good again.
yeah. See, I knew you would like that game.
Well,
We
like
had
it
mentioned that.
it has its problems, but
Yes, it has its problems.
Halo was always best when it was open ended and it just kind of let you do whatever you wanted. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the fact that they made basically an open world Halo game like really works for it.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, the everything I've heard about that game, it is totally. It's
Like,
what if you took the levels like that have the driving and like the original, and you just made the entire game that,
yeah, I mean,
but also gave you the Doom hook.
yeah, I mean, it's got the problem of like its story's still not great.
And that's it. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I do love the fact that within like the first 5 minutes, they're basically like, yeah, so all that stuff from Halo 5, yeah, we took care of that off screen.
Mm. So they just
It's
completely
hell-
nullified Halo 5, huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically they were just like, you know what, Halo 5 and 4 and 5 were not great.
Huh.
So they were just like, mulligan.
Huh.
Like,
Interesting.
like they took their first two swings at it and were like, all right, I need a mulligan. I've also been playing Death's Door.
Oh, see, I purchased that on the Switch, and I just haven't got around. I should probably play that
Oh
in
my god,
my spare time
it's
instead of
so
Apex Legends.
good. Although the first time I played through it, there are these like little floating keyholes, and
Mhm.
and you're meant to just interact with them.
Right,
But because of the way the first area worked, they make you get a key and open a door, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I must need a key.
Oh,
And so I just skipped past all of them, and it's basically the doors are bonfires. Because Death's Door is basically just it's Zelda but Dark Souls. Like you die and you go back.
But it goes like room by room.
No. So it's very specifically the Death's Doors.
Oh, okay. So they're like like a special type of door that you go
Yeah, but you just interact
okay.
with them, and so like I kept dying and getting sent back to the beginning of an area, and I was just like, oh god, it's like a 2-minute walk back.
through.
So I restarted it, and like I've been opening the doors as I go, and it's so much better. It's better paced. Like
Hmm.
it's really good. It's also
That's
not
awesome.
very long from what I've heard.
Hmm.
I think I'm like halfway through it.
Oh, cool.
So it seems like it doesn't seem like there's a turning point like in Zelda games.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Zelda has you go to the 3 temples, and then something happens to the world, and then
Right.
you got
right,
more
right.
temples. This doesn't seem like it's going to do that.
Hmm.
So, but that's what I've been playing. I really like Death's Door.
I definitely, that is a game that I heard some people on like Twitter and stuff that I follow talking about it, and like I listened to a podcast where they talked about it a little bit, but I know very little about the game, but it sounds
It's
super super cool.
it's really good. It tells its story in a very minimal way.
Oh, okay.
Like there are little journals that you can read that kind of tell you like what's going on. And you can talk to various people. And they'll like they'll change what they're saying, like respond to like, oh, you opened this door. Oh.
Hmm.
So it's really interesting. Um I don't know if I like the upgrade system though.
Mm.
Like they do the thing where you have to collect 4 of a thing to
Yeah.
get an additional thing,
Mm-hmm.
like an additional health or additional magic.
Okay. Yeah. So like
Um,
for the heart pieces in old Zelda
yeah.
games.
Um, but there's only 8 pieces for each. So there's only
Oh.
2 upgrades. I'm like, I would have
Oh.
rather you just given me like a bar, and each time I get a thing, the bar fills up a little more.
Hmm.
So
So it just goes up like a little tiny bit instead of like a big jump all at once.
yeah, because it's chunks. Like you have
Mm.
4
Yeah.
4 hits. You can only get hit 4 times in the beginning. And
Okay.
so you get an upgrade to your health, and it lets you get hit another time. I think I would have rather it just been like, here's a little bit of extra health, so you can survive or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm not a game developer. It's just kind of frustrating because you find these things and then you don't see any upgrade till like halfway through the game, and it's like,
Mm.
oh my god.
Yeah, that's not a super satisfying like
But the combat's a
loop.
lot different. As it's not like a Dark Souls games where like different enemies do different damage. It's just
Mm.
numbers of hits.
I
Like if
gotcha.
you get hit 4 times in the beginning, you're dead.
Hmm.
And you only have so many uses of your magic. Like you can only use it, I think it's like 3 or 4 times. But then hitting stuff like recharges your magic. So
Hmm.
overall, I really like the game. It's super cute. I mean, it's death is apparently just a bunch of ravens. Like
Okay.
so, like what's not to love about that? And
That's
you
actually
like
that's like
you go
kind of
through and you
a
collect these little trinkets, and they seem to do nothing.
yeah.
But they're crows collect random junk. So you collect random junk because you're a crow.
Huh.
Like, why wouldn't you do that?
That's cool.
So,
No, that would like that's like a common thing in D&D right now. There's the goddess of like death is her thing is represented by crows and stuff.
yeah. Anything else you want to talk about before we get into it?
No,
Did
no.
you hear
Yeah.
about the Microsoft thing?
Oh yeah, I didn't know if we wanted to talk about that or not. Like that
I
could
mean,
be
yeah, I have some thoughts on it. I mean, oh my god, we were so close to having a console agnostic future. Like where it's like it didn't really matter what console you got. You could just basically play everything. And like I know like Nintendo's always going to have its exclusives. Sony's always going to have its exclusives. But I think Microsoft really could have made the push for like everything on everything. But it seems based off what Phil Spencer has said, they're not gonna just make everything a console exclusive. Like they're just looking at this
yeah.
as this is another way in which we are going to be making money.
Well, yeah. I mean, they immediately, as soon as it came out that they were going to buy it, like everything was about. Well, that means we get to add, Call of Duty to to Game Pass like immediately.
Yeah, and I mean, I think because Activision Blizzard doesn't have like a Game Pass subscription. That's EA that has one.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you get access to some tier of that with Game Pass.
And
Or with a
Ubisoft has like
tier.
their thing too.
But I don't know. I mean, I kind of think it's not going to happen, honestly.
I don't know. Everything I'm seeing, it seems like it's full speed ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I think it sets a dangerous precedent of one company owning everything.
I mean, yeah, you would think Microsoft would would know.
Yeah, especially considering they got in huge trouble for having a monopoly in the 90s.
Yeah, but at the same time, it seems like.
But I think that's
the
why
general populace doesn't give a shit about games. Like,
well, I think it's why Microsoft is being like, no, we're not going to be making these things. Like, we don't have any desire to make Call of Duty exclusive.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe that's their way of trying to get around it.
I think that's their way of getting around it. Because, like,
Yeah.
if they just made everything exclusive and, like, anybody else bought another major studio, Nintendo, Sony, whoever, I guess just those two. If either one of those companies, like, went in and purchased, like, Square Enix or Ubisoft or EA,
Yeah.
that would be it. Like, it would just be a monopoly game.
Yeah.
Like, of seeing who can get all of the developers and publishers first. So
Yeah, because like besides them, everybody else has kind of been scooped up except for like a lot of these little indie things that are happening now.
I mean, there's still plenty of publishers out there. There's Take-Two, there's Square Enix, there's EA, there's Ubisoft, Devolver Digital.
Yeah.
I mean, Devolver Digital is a smaller publisher, but they're still a publisher.
Right.
There's probably some other ones I'm missing. But
gosh, I can't really think of any others, to be honest.
But like, I think those are the major ones. But it sets the dangerous precedent of like one company owning everything, and when like, I mean, we see it every generation. Like last generation, the PS4 was on top.
Right.
And the PS4 didn't really have that much of a competition. Like, Xbox put out their better console, and people were like, okay, it's a little better. Like, still kind of sucks. And then Sony responded with the PS4 Pro. But, like, for the most part, they didn't do anything. I mean, you see, a really good example is Intel versus AMD. Like, for years, Intel was on top, and everything they did was just iterative.
Yeah,
like,
and then
it was just
AMD
small. Like, oh, you get another core, you get another whatever, more threads, and then AMD came out and was like, all right, here's the Threadripper. It's like this whole new thing, and all of a sudden it was like Intel had nothing to compete with it. And they still don't. They're still responding to the new Ryzen stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they just came out with like the 1000 like series.
I think they came out with a 1100 already.
Maybe I don't know. I haven't been keeping super close track of that, but yeah, I mean.
But it's like when one person is on top, you just see no innovation.
Right.
Like nobody, because there's no reason. They're the only choice. Like if Microsoft owned everything, they could make the shittiest console ever. What are we gonna do about it? They're the only ones. Like that's like, if you want to play games, it's you buy a PC or you buy an Xbox. So
I mean, at least for that, yeah. I mean, at least for the stuff that, from the sounds of it, from what they own, yeah, it's either you have a gaming PC or you get an Xbox.
yeah, and I mean, at that point, they can just be like, everything's on Xbox. Buy an Xbox, and then you have to
Yeah.
own a PC for like, basic PC stuff. And then you also have to buy a gaming It goes back to like the old days when like gaming was just gaming, and like
Right.
you had like 20 different devices you carried with you. Like I remember carrying a phone, an iPod, fucking PDA. I never had a PDA, but some people carried one.
Right.
So I just worry about one company owning everything. So
I mean, yeah. I mean, that is the one good thing about where we're at with the government currently, is that, they seem to be pretty hardcore about not letting monopolies happen.
I mean, it's been a while since we've had any kind of discussion of monopolies.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the last big one was probably when Apple tried to buy, what was that, AT&T or something like that, or Sprint maybe. I can't. They tried to buy one of the big phone companies.
One of the cell phone providers tried to buy out another one. I think it was AT&T tried to buy Sprint.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
And the government came in and was like, no, you can't do that because then that's just two providers. And like, we can't.
Right.
No, you have to have healthy competition because otherwise you're going to get lazy and nobody's going to do shit.
Yeah, and then instead, I think Sprint bought T-Mobile or something like that. Sprint and T-Mobile are the same thing now.
I don't know. We're slowly working our way to just one company.
Yeah, I mean, that unfortunately continues to be the case.
Which I stress to people is not a good thing.
No,
I mean,
definitely not.
But I mean, I think that was the biggest piece of news that really happened.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there was that, and I mean, there was like the big game awards and stuff happened a little bit before.
I mean, Tifa's apparently going into government.
I don't know if that's exactly news, but
I mean, it's not news. But anyway, let's get into our discussion because we're about 23 minutes in. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna do a quick recap of info. So we have been playing Chrono Cross, as you can see by our current game card. Chrono Cross was a game released in 1999. It was originally released on the Sony PlayStation, the Sony PlayStation 1, by developers. At the time, it was Square Soft. Now Square Enix. Director was Masato Kato. Let's see. Artist Yasuyuki Hone. Nobu Teruyuki. And composer Yasunori Mitsuda. One of these days, I'm gonna prep on saying people's names. Is a sequel to Chrono Trigger, which was a game on the NES. It has since been ported to many different, not many different systems. You can get it on PlayStation Network. Obviously, there's emulation. There's playing the original, which runs on PS1, 2, 3. And again, you can get the digital version on PlayStation Network. Um, so, yeah, that's it for info. You got anything else to add?
No, just
Because I mean, I don't want to go through the whole like here's everybody that worked on it.
right. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
because this is just a recap. So we want to talk about some gameplay first. We got a new gameplay mechanic. We actually got a couple of new gameplay mechanics in this session.
Mhm.
The first one that we get, they don't actually tell you about in the game ever, but it's summoning. You go to, you visit the water dragon, which we'll discuss later on, and he gives you your first summon, the Frog Prince, and you are able to do summons. Have you figured out summons yet?
I hadn't until you told me how to do it. I unlocked that and didn't even. I think I had mentioned in the previous episode that we when we talked about how we were I was letting the game decide what elements it fills out in my like thing for each of
Right.
the members. So it didn't add it to those, so I just ignored it.
Well, I mean, it's also you get it when you already have your stuff filled out.
Yeah.
So unless you go in and change it,
I
um,
usually every time I get a star and it increases the size, I always have it
oh
like
right, because
reallocate.
you're playing through the first time.
Right. Yeah, you don't experience that.
Um, but in order to summon, you have to change the field effects.
Hmm.
I'm gonna pull up a screenshot here. Where's okay? So I'm just gonna share my screen here, real quick.
Sure.
So here we have this is one of the battles that we actually do in this section. But you see up here, you have a little field effect. And this all has to be, this changes every time you cast a spell, and it needs to all be one color in order to summon any of the summons. So the first summon that we have is the Frog Prince, which is a blue summon spell. So it all needs to be blue. So, which is actually really hard to do.
It is really hard to do unless you catch the enemy unless you basically the enemy goes and it's an enemy that doesn't attack very often and it just only uses physical attacks. Otherwise it's really hard to get it to be all blue. And now I know there are elements that you can get that change
Yeah, so there are
the
elements
entire
that
thing.
will just turn the entire field a certain color, and those
Right.
are great. But even there, you have to put a little bit of thought into it
Yeah,
because
I mean you basically have to have it on a person on another character, use
yeah,
that, and then have the other
because
character
of the
cast
way
the
the
summon.
battle system works with the stamina, and once you cast a spell, you either have 0 stamina or negative stamina.
Right, yeah.
Um, you have to be able to cast the turn whatever color and then the summon.
Yeah.
Um, and so you have to have two characters in order to summon things. Like, because otherwise
So
the enemy can just interrupt and be like, "Nope, I'm gonna." have this one, and then you got to start all over again. And because you can't just recast stuff, like once you use your turn blue, that's it. You only get one shot at it, really. I mean, you only get one shot at it with the easy way.
Right. Now, have you? I know where you're playing through New Game Plus. You have all that stuff unlocked.
Right.
Have you, when you fight stuff? I mean, you're also like super over leveled and everything, so you usually don't have to.
I've hit the point in the game where bosses actually will take multiple hits, so I can do stuff like okay. I always have to make sure that I attack with Kid first.
So you can steal stuff.
So I can steal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But even there, you have to think about it because like you build up her gauge, and you get to the steal ability, and then you either go into the negative in stamina, or you have someone else attack, giving her back stamina.
Right.
So it's really interesting. Like there's even like this kind of meta game in New Game Plus, of like trying to figure out like, okay, how can I do a summon? How can I steal from this boss? How can I do this? How can I do that? And it's really interesting. I've actually been really enjoying it, going back and playing it again like this.
Well, I was going to ask, I wonder, because it's so much of an investment because I haven't actually, I mean, like I haven't actually used any of the summons yet. Like it's such an investment to be able to even be able to cast them to begin with. Is it like something to where like even if you use one of the like the first one you get, does it do like a fuck ton of damage?
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't. Like my most powerful attack, for Surge, he'll do like 600 damage.
Oh wow, okay.
The Frog Prince does like 800.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant. I mean, I think some of them, if I remember correctly, some of the summons are a little lackluster. Like just not worth it. But I will say, if you are playing along, it is a good idea to get good at changing the field effects.
Oh yeah.
So, because
I don't know. So currently, like the way that I have my party set up, and the way that usually it goes, if it's something that takes physical damage, okay. Because I have fought a couple of things where it just seems like their defense is like crazy high, and you're meant to use magic against them. Like my entire party is set up to be like I have Surge, Glenn, and the dog. I can't remember the dog's name. Pushel. Because of the characters that I've unlocked, they three have the highest base strength. So I was like, I'm just gonna go that direction, to where basically the whole first round of attacks is just them beating the shit out of the enemies as much as possible. And then if it's something that I know, well, now that I've unlocked the second level of their like individual abilities, Surge's second level individual ability is fucking OP as shit. It hits everybody, and it does like a shit ton of damage.
That's the...
I can't remember. It's like Luminosity or something like that.
Yeah, it's like Luminary or something like that.
Luminary, something like that. Yeah, it's really fucking good.
Yeah.
So that's usually what I do if it's something that I know will die from basically just one round of him doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember playing the game originally, and I like how much thought goes into casting a spell. Like, it's not
Mm-hmm.
just a throwaway, like, oh, this character's going to cast this, then this person's going to attack, and then this person's going to cast this, and then I'm going to have my healer heal. And, like, everyone needs to be able to heal. Everyone needs to be able to attack. Everyone needs to be able to use magic.
Yeah.
Um,
At least
and
somewhat.
yeah, at least, like, there are certain characters that are like, Pushel's magic.
Puzel's magic is shit. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's total garbage. But Pushel
like,
does a lot of physical damage.
Like in Kid, for example, has a lot of is really good with stat buffs.
Yeah.
Red spells in general are just really good with stat boosting.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have to put more thought into like, okay, this one character is gonna attack, and I'm gonna build up their grid. And then someone else is going to attack. Or I'm going to let this character go into the negative and not use them for a while.
Right.
And that's an aspect of the game that I really kind of miss. Like, because...
Well, I will say... Go ahead.
For me, a lot of the battles are just identical. Like, it's just attack with Kid first, attack with someone else, steal, maybe try to get a summon off. Like,
so for me, what I've figured out with the battle system, and as long as you don't miss, like missing in this game is the most annoying fucking thing ever. But basically what you can do is you can do 1, 2, 3 attacks, and you have one extra point to use, cast some magic that puts you in the negative. But by the time that it gets back around to you, as long as your other two characters also did the 1, 2, 3 cast magic, 1, 2, 3 cast magic, you'll have your full 7 stamina back again. So you can basically just continue that loop over and over and over again.
I mean, yeah, but then you will run into a time where you're just like, the enemy gets like 2 turns in a row.
No, as long as you don't miss, as long as none of your characters miss, you can continue that loop
yeah,
forever.
but lots of characters miss all the time. Like, my characters miss all the time.
100%. Yes.
And
especially if you get interrupted by the enemy in the middle of your combo.
Yeah, and I think that's why like 99% does not mean like 99%.
Right.
It means like 9 out of 10 times you'll hit.
See, there's a great meme for people that play Fire Emblem, where 99% actually means like 75%.
Yeah. It's different than like Fire Emblem, because like Fire Emblem just straight up lies. Like, it's like, oh yeah, you got like a 99% chance of hitting this guy, miss for the next 3 turns.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Just give me the actual numbers. But I really like how much thought you as a player have to put into the battle system.
Definitely. Yeah, and especially with where we get to at the end of this session of playing, the bosses that you had to fight there, like those were legit a challenge.
Yeah. One thing I definitely don't like, and I can't believe I didn't remember this, but bosses just come one right after the other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of annoying sometimes.
Well, it's because they allow you to heal after every fight, no matter what, so they can just throw boss after boss at you.
It's one of those things where it's like, I would like to save.
Yeah, if you do happen to die, yeah, that's kind of shit.
Yeah, because like if you don't save, like usually they allow you to go back to the save point.
Yeah, usually, but not like the last boss fight that you do before this checkpoint that we're stopping at. Yeah, you have to fight both of those fights for one after another.
Yeah. Um, the other new mechanic was the magic stealing mechanic, which we are taught by Salt and Pepper. I think I think that might actually be the last time we really see them, like in a tutorial form.
That I don't know. Like we have finally hit the point that this is as much as I remember from playing the game before.
I think we've hit the last tutorial from Salt and Pepper at least. But the stealing magic ability is there are certain traps you can lay. You can set on an enemy. And if the enemy uses the very specific attack, then you will gain that attack. Like you get to keep that attack, and you can like equip it to your characters later on. And it's really an interesting mechanic, but I feel like the way they did it, where every stealable spell has a specifically a different trap for it. It kind of takes the fun out of it.
Well, and I was looking up some stuff because obviously you unlock all that stuff during this point. And so you're able to go and buy all those, and I was like, "Oh, well, where do you get, say, I forget what the like level 7 red one?" Because I was like, "Oh,
Inferno.
That sounds fun." Oh, it was an Inferno, yeah.
Well,
I was like,
there's two different ones. There's Inferno, there's Volcano.
Right, but anyway, yeah, I was like, "Where do you go to get those?" And I was looking it up, and it's like, yeah, there's this one enemy that you fight like this one specific time, and you have to let it get the field completely red, and then it'll use the ability sometimes. And it was just like, that's just.
See, I think it would have been. I think it would have been better if they had like, instead of one spell for each different spell, like one trap for each spell. If they just did
like color,
if they went by color, like they had a black trap, a white trap, a red, a blue, a yellow, a green, and you just had to like do that, and it was just random enemies that you would get these from.
Yeah,
like you could still make it to where it's like, oh, okay, it's only certain attacks, but then it kind of becomes almost like a Pokemon thing where you're trying to like learn which enemies have which attacks and you know what are the conditions for those spells if they have any.
It's like a continuation of the old like blue mage stuff from Final Fantasy games, where it's like, where you have to have somebody that's kind of useless in your party with this one particular ability that, you know, they use the ability and then the monster has to like do their thing, and the monster doesn't always do their thing, and you have to fight the same monster like over and over and over again. Except for it's kind of even worse, where I'm pretty sure some of the bosses that we fight in the last area that we go to are stuff that you can trap stuff from, and you only get that one chance against that boss, and that's it.
I mean, I think most of the attacks you can find a random enemy that does them.
Maybe.
But also, like, the higher level you are, the harder it is to fight lower level things and actually like accomplish anything without just killing them.
Killing them instantly.
So like that really becomes a problem. And it's like you have to know that the attack is going to happen, or that the character you're fighting or whatever can do the attack beforehand. Because there's so many different ones. You have to know specifically, like, oh, okay, I need the Inferno trap. I need the Volcano trap. I need whatever spell it is. And
I mean, the only good thing about that is you can see the enemies on the,
I mean, but even still, it's one of those things where like you have to have foresight.
A lot of foresight. Also,
Um,
does this game not have the ability to have like an ability that scans the enemy?
no,
I could have swore there was something like
nope.
that. Wow, that is so
At least I
strange.
don't. I don't think there is. There might be a character that has like a scan ability,
Hmm.
um, that does something specific.
I don't know. I might be
Um,
confusing that and Chrono Cross or Chrono Trigger.
I will say one thing that has really been pissing me off about the combat that really just made me mad before. I want to know what kind of element grid these bosses and enemies have because they just keep casting the same thing over and over and over, and they seem to never run out. And I'm like, are
Yeah,
they working by the same rules as us?
they aren't. Clearly, they aren't.
Like, like I fought one boss and he just did Inferno after Inferno, or not Inferno, but his like breath attack at one
Hmm.
after the other, and I was like, "Come on, how many of these do you have?"
Yeah, that's kind of crappy. Yeah, they seem to follow the normal like Final Fantasy thing of they just get to use their ability as much as they want.
Yeah, and I hate that, especially because of one of the battles that happens in this section of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I'll talk about more when we get to it. Was there anything else that you wanted to mention about the game and the gameplay?
Well, there. This
I,
I would say this section of game is when you really get like the overall like the music is just absolutely phenomenal in this section of the
yeah,
game.
you get a lot of really good music, a lot of really good arrangements of various songs.
Oh my god,
Um,
the music in the
I mean,
Fort Dragonia, holy shit, that is
just
so good.
the music that plays when you talk to Kid when she wakes up,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
like that's one of the best songs.
Yeah.
So, I do want to ask, um, has the repetition set in yet?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I am definitely sick of the combat song.
Well, see, I think for me it definitely has set in because, like I said, every battle is just the same. Because I'm going through this in
Sure.
New Game Plus, trying to play ahead, which I've been doing a terrible job of. Um, but um, I think one of the things that makes Chrono Cross really great is that because your grid levels up with you,
Hmm.
you get the ability to use more and more magic. So like as you go, you can get more healing in there. You can get more attacks. You can do all this. You
Hmm.
can like start to specialize. Like I think this is the point in the game where you can really start to like hone in each character.
Yeah, I will say I haven't really been doing much of that. I've also just been kind of like because I'm going the direction I'm going with the three characters that I have. I haven't really had to worry about what magic they have very much
Right. Well, I
because
mean, like
I
I said,
do.
I think this is the part of the story where it starts to really matter. Like if you don't have
Mm.
any healing, you're gonna be
Oh, oh,
like
definitely,
screwed.
definitely.
Like
Oh,
it
absolutely.
if you don't have if you have just one color per character,
Right,
then
right,
you're
right.
gonna kind of get screwed over and learn very quickly. Oh, okay, I can't do that. Like the way I always do it is I always have like Surge is white,
Right.
So
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
him have a lot of white abilities. I give him the most powerful one, and
Hmm.
I let him have like ones that are like plus whatever. Um, and then with the other characters, I give them white abilities as well, but I give them far fewer and less powerful ones. Like
Hmm.
ones that are like, oh, okay, this is like good to have. Like it's always good to have an extra one of these.
Right. Yeah.
And,
Like an extra
and like as
meteor swarm or
as you
whatever.
fill out the or the element grid, I keep wanting to say sphere grid.
Hmm.
Um, that becomes easier and easier to do. So,
Right.
but at the same time, I feel like they do a pretty good job of like, here's some more spells that you're gonna want to use, and look at that, you just got a slot that you can put it in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So the first time you played through, did you ever really use the spells that like lower and raise the amount of element damage that's done by everybody?
yeah, yeah, I did.
Yeah, like I've been using the diminish one that lowers the element damage that everybody does. One, it doesn't affect healing spells, so you can
Yeah,
still heal like full. And I just beat the shit out of them, and they barely do any damage to me. It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. No, I mean, like, there's if you put thought into this combat system, you're gonna get a lot out of it, and that's one of the reasons why I always really liked it, because I think the great thing about RPGs, specifically JRPGs, is they kind of make you feel smart.
Mm-hmm.
And like the more complicated they seem, the smarter you're going to feel. And this is a combat system where at first glance it seems very complicated.
Right,
But
yeah,
it's really
especially because it's just totally different from what you're used to.
yeah, but it's really not. Like once you
It's
get the
really not.
feel of how combat goes, it's really not that hard. But you feel really smart because you're told that like it's really complicated.
Yeah, like even the game at the beginning is like the combat system's a little difficult. Like here's the basics,
Yeah.
and especially because it drags out the the salt and pepper stuff. Like we're probably almost halfway through the game, and it's still like introducing a new thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't do the thing where it's like every 5 minutes there's some new
Yeah, thank God.
mechanic, which some games do, and some games I love do that, and
Yeah.
I'm like, you just gotta put up with it.
Well, it works. It's determined by what type of game it is. Like if it's a game that's like it the mechanic changes the way you play the game entirely. Like
Yeah,
that's really cool. But if it's just like an addition to type of thing, you really just want it to be like here's everything, figure it like play with it and figure it out and then just
yeah,
go on,
yeah.
you know.
I mean, I'm specifically thinking of Final Fantasy 13, where it's like,
Oh, yeah.
give me everything at the beginning, introduce it one at a time, whatever. But just kind of
Right.
give it to me by the time that I've gone through the first couple of levels. I have everything unlocked. And then just let me play around with it.
Right, right, right.
Rather than this, all right, go through a level, here's a new mechanic. Go through another level, here's a new mechanic. Go through the next level, here's a new mechanic. So, or the Eternal Sonata thing where it's like, okay, so we're going to introduce a new mechanic at the end of each chapter, and it changes how you play the game.
Yeah, I just don't think that
So,
works for an RPG, which is yeah.
like, I really wish there was an option in Eternal Sonata to just play with with everything unlocked, like all of the combat stuff unlocked from the beginning. Um, but anything else you want
No, I think
to?
I think that's it. I think we nail the story of what's going on. It's a lot to talk about there, so let's go ahead and
Yeah,
get to that.
so that's gonna be the main chunk of this because I have how many? It's one, two, three, 3.5 pages of like story beats to go through. Um, so, why don't we take our first break because we're about an hour in.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and we will discuss the story. Sound good?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we will see everyone back in a couple of minutes. All right, we are back. Nope, don't want the song to play again. Nope, don't want that. So we left off with the gameplay, and we were going to story. So let's just, because we got a lot to get through, let's just start off. And feel free to interject if you want to, anything I missed in my notes, if you want to add. I know you tend to write down like specific dialogues that are said. But
I just think they're interesting.
Anyway, anytime you want to interject, just feel free to.
Okay.
So we left off with Kid being injured by lynx, and we fell off the edge, and Korcha took us to Goldov, and we were informed of Kid's condition. Basically told that the only thing that can save her is the Hydra. But in this world, another world, the Hydra has already gone extinct. So what are we to do? Oh no. Um, and we basically stopped right there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so this is where we have to make a decision. And so you have to actually decide whether or not to save kid or not. Now, me being a perfectly reasonable person was like, of course I'm going to save her. It's kid. You, on the other hand, decided that you hate everyone and you're just like, no, 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 fuck her. What has she done for me? Um, so it'll be really interesting to see what happens when you decide to not save her.
Mm-hmm.
So when I decided to save her, I was given the astral amulet.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you are able to return to homeworld. It's just something that kid kind of has on her. So you go back to Opasa Beach, you go back to homeworld, and you go to the Hydra marshes, which is actually the only the only real place you can go in homeworld at this point. There you meet the dwarves. They say the dwarves kind of have this running theme of humans are killing the world, and they consume without regard for anything else. And so you go through this level in the Hydra Marshes. You can recruit a character named Rasley. She is a little fairy character. She is being held captive by like some kind of octopus creature.
Did you fight the octopus creature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you?
No.
You didn't? Oh.
No.
Did you get Rasley?
No.
Oh. I think she gets like eaten.
You can still save her from getting eaten. You just don't get her in your party.
Oh, okay. But you
Fairy
kind of go through this level. There's a couple different bosses. There's like a giant centipede boss. The big one is the Hydra. You kind of follow the dwarfs around, and they kind of lead you to the Hydra, and they remark, "Oh, humans are terrible. Like, you guys suck."
So you mentioned the centipede. It's actually a winged centipede. And we talked before about the trap stuff. When you fight that, that's where you get tornado.
mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that, so I didn't get that.
I think you might be able to go back and I don't remember. But that's also before they teach you the new mechanic, which is kind of like really.
Right.
But you go, you fight the Hydra, you defeat the Hydra. The dwarves are real sad about it because apparently in this world that was the last Hydra. So while they were not extinct completely, they were basically extinct. And so you go back, you give the Hydra humor to the Doc, who's just named Doc. And he creates the antidote and saves kid. What did you do? What was the next thing you did when you were like, nah?
Okay, so basically what happens, so when you agree to help kid, you get the boat from Korsha, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of getting Korsha and the boat, you get his mom, Maka, and the boat.
Right.
And she agrees to help you. Basically she's like, stupid kid, like, even, these people clearly need help, so I'm gonna help them because you're being an ass and not helping them, is basically what she says.
Yeah, because you are kind of being an ass.
So we don't get the astral amulet. Kid gives it to us, and then Korsha is like, you're gonna fucking take that? Like, what kind of asshole are you? And like basically confronts you about taking the thing, even though you're not gonna help her. And you have the option of being like, yeah, fuck you, or like, nah, and you can put it back. And I put it back, so you don't get the astral amulet until with going this direction until way later.
So what do you do at dungeon? Is there a different dungeon you do, or?
So basically what happens is you get Korsha, or not Korsha, but what's the hell's her name? Maka, which she's not terribly useful. She's okay. But I haven't used her. But you get the ability to get Glenn.
Right.
And he's amazing. But you have to go back to Termina for that. Right. And you had to do something. Oh, you had to give Glenn the flower in Termina like forever ago.
Right.
The first time you went to Termina.
Yeah.
Right. If you do not give him the flower, you can't get him. Then he will not join you.
So does he give you the next dungeon, or like I'm really curious as to what the next dungeon? I don't remember. I've done a playthrough like that, but I don't remember.
So we skip this direction. The Hydra is completely optional. You don't have to go to the Hydra marshes at all if you don't want to. We go directly to the Hermit and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of like take Korsha's boat and just be like, peace.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is you go to Termina, and basically Maka takes you to Termina, and because she needs to go. I think she has to go there for something, or she's just willing to take you there. So you go there and you like kind of walk around a little bit, and then the thing happens, and you get and you're like about to leave. I can't remember what exactly the thing is that causes her to. I think we went there to look for something, and it wasn't there. And so she's like, so we go back to the boat, and she's still there, and she's like, "Hey, are you ready to go?" And she was basically like, "So what are you guys gonna do? Are you gonna try and save her? Or are you just gonna not like try to save her, but like, are you gonna keep going, or are you just gonna kind of do your own thing?" And basically, no matter what you say, she gives you the boat. She's like, "Look, you clearly need this boat more than I do,
right?
More than my son does. So here, it's yours, basically." And then, as you're about to leave, Glenn shows up, and Glenn goes, "Hey, I need a ride." He like comes up to her and is like, "Hey, I need a ride," and she's like, "You just missed your opportunity, but you can talk to this fella standing next to you," meaning you, the character. They're going, sounds like they're going the same direction you are, and then he joins your party. And then she, like a really funny interaction, she goes, "Well, I'm going back to Goldove," and she just jumps in the fucking water and starts swimming away.
Yeah, so if you save Kid, there's a little scene with Mel. Like you have a scene with Kid where she like thanks you and like tells a little bit about her story. Like she tells you about how she grew up an orphan. And that like Link's attacked them, and that's why she's hunting them down.
Mm-hmm. Same thing as Kid.
Yeah. And you get a little subplot with Korch's sister Mel, where she steals all of her elements. And you can actually either like go after her
right.
and like you do some stuff and like you get her in your party, or you can just be like, nah, I don't need those.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but there's another scene with Korcha when you get back to Termina with everyone, and if you don't keep him in your party, he's just like, all right, well, I'm going back to Goldov, and just like jumps in the water and like dolphin swims away.
Yeah, the Maka does the same thing. If you
Yeah,
don't keep her in the
yeah,
party,
it's
she
fucking
just does that.
hilarious. There's also another scene with Korcha where he makes Kid promise to marry him.
Oh.
Yeah, and Kid's like, "What are you? What?" Like that's the reason he gives you his boat.
Ew, that's kind of
It's
lame.
like it's really weird because Kid's like, no, I don't want to marry you. I don't even know you. And he's like, well, at least give me the chance to like, potentially marry you. And she was like, ugh, fine, go on a date or something.
Oh, that's kind of gross. Ew.
Um, but Korcha tells you that if you're still looking for links, that you need to probably talk to the hermit who lives on the other side of the island kind of the main island that we've been on.
Mm-hmm.
Before you go to Fort Dragonia and confront Lynx, because we know Lynx is going to Fort Dragonia.
Right.
So you go to visit this hermit who it's like literally like a little island off the coast. And you run into Harley, who has burned the entire place down. And she gives some exposition about like you should just give up, like blah blah blah. Why are you doing this? You can just go home. But she was trying to kill the hermit, but turns out the hermit had a little hidey hole in his house. And so he comes out from a giant tree stump, and it's Radius from the beginning of the game, the guy that taught us all about the combat. He is actually the hermit in another world. So he takes you to the underground shelter. He does a lot of exposition stuff, so he gives you some background on the Dragoon Knights. He warns you about a ghost ship that is kind of floating about the coast outside of Fort Dragonia, or the entrance to Fort Dragonia. He tells you a little bit more about Lynx, so you can kind of get a little bit about Link's backstory. Not too much, but you learn that he kind of is a dick. Like he goes around like just killing people. Like he takes what he wants and doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But you talk to him, you stay with him for a little bit. And when you finally get to the area where Fort Dragonia is, because the whole time we've been able to see it on the map and we can like see where the entrance is, but we haven't had a boat, so we haven't been able to get into it. You have to pass through this fog. This fog is apparently, or seemingly seems to be generated by this ship that you find in it. And you board the ship, and it turns out it's actually a pirate ship led by a guy named Fargo. I don't know if that is a reference to like the movie, but growing up, I always thought it was. I was like, oh man, this guy must be like super hardcore. Like that's a messed up movie. But you end up fighting Fargo, and win or lose. I actually don't think you can lose the fight. I think you have to win. Even if you win, though, he hits you with a trank dart and knocks you out, throws you into the brig, and then when you and your party come to, there's a large crashing sound, and apparently there is an actual ghost ship floating about, and they are attacking the ship that you are currently on.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of leads into doing the boat as a level. So you fight your way through the ship. Here you can find another character, Pip, if you unlocked him from Lucia's office.
Mm-hmm.
Or Juicia's. Don't remember her name.
It's Lucia.
But I feel like there's, I don't know, like they spell it weird.
It's Luccia, Lucia.
So you get this new character. He doesn't really have much to say other than like, I'm scared. But you go through. It's not a very long level. The hardest part is just tracking down the key. You do a lot of back and forth. But once you get the key that you're looking for, apparently these pirates are really bad about shrugging off their duties to someone else. Once you find the key, it's a pretty straightforward level.
Yeah, you just go back to the deck.
Yeah. You fight a boss. It's like a big ghost boss. I can't comment on it whether it was easy or hard because it's super easy for me. But Fargo thanks you for your help, and he says, "Hey, you're going to Fort Dragonia? Well, in order to do that, you got to pass through Mount Pyre, and in order to do that, you should probably talk to the Water Dragon." But nobody's seen him for a while, so I don't know. And there's an interesting little scene that we get. If you have Nikki in your party, which I did, you get a little scene where Nikki walks up to Fargo and is like, "Hey, do you have any kids?" And Fargo's like, "Why do you want to know?" Nikki heavily implies, if not straight out says, "Fargo's my daddy." So, which is kind of weird because so you've met Nikki's sister, who is one of the Arcadia Dragoons, and now you've met his father, who is a fucking pirate.
Yeah.
Like, this sounds like a very weird family.
It's a very weird family.
But he doesn't do anything with this information. He kind of keeps it to himself. So after this, you go to the Water Dragon Island, which is just called Water Dragon Island.
So, well, this is different a little bit depending on if you've already saved Kid or not.
Oh, right, because at this point you end up.
You go back to Goldove, and then you see that Kid had been saved already by some random person that apparently had the necessary thing to cure her poison, and there's nothing else made of that whatsoever, which is strange.
And this is where you get the exposition of like Kid and Lynx.
This is where you get the
There's actually a funny little throwaway line. If you save Kid, she says, "Even if you hadn't decided to save me, I would have been fine." Like the game is telling you, like, "Hey, you should play this game again," and then like not save her.
Right. Yeah. So this also gives you the ability to recruit Doc, but for whatever reason, I
Did you not
didn't
get
get
him?
him.
Oh my god. He's the
Yeah,
best. Doc is
I
the
don't
best.
I don't know why, but I did not get him.
Doc is the best. Um, anything else?
And that's when you get the astral amulet. That's when you
Right, because you as we will learn here in a second, you go to the Water Dragon Island and you
yeah.
find out in another world the water dragon's not there. In fact, there's no water there on this island at all. It's all been just kind of gone. Like things are messed up in this world,
Hmm.
or at least messed up in a different way. So of course you think, oh well, I'll just go check this island in Homeworld. And so you go to Paso Beach, you go back to Homeworld, and then you realize, oh shit, I don't have a boat.
Mm.
And so you're like, okay, well, where can I go? Because you can't get to Termina, you can't get to Guldov, you can't get to any of these places that you know has a dock. So you just go back to the starting village, and there you talk to the fisherman, and he actually gives you a ride to the water Dragon Island. And it's there that you then see, oh, this seems more appropriate for a water dragon. But you end up getting in there, and you find out that the dwarves from Homeworld are like kind of mad that you done killed the last Hydra, and they're looking for a new place to like call home, cause like the Hydra marshes are all kinds of messed up now. And they decide, you know what? Screw it. If the humans are going to be dicks to everyone and take what they want, we're just going to be dicks to people, and we're going to take this land from the fairies. And so they start slaughtering fairies. But you go through this area. If you go through with fewer fights, something different happens at the end. But you go through, you eventually get to the ice dragon or the water dragon, and there he gives you ice breath, which is just an item that you end up using in order to pass through Mount Pyre, which is the entrance to Fort Dragonia.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing this, you end up eliminating the dwarves, and they're like, "Oh man, humans really gonna be like the dominant people?" And they kind of exposition more about humans being not too great. But in this section, you actually meet Rasley's sister, and you actually have the ability to either save her or let her die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually determined by how many battles you get into. So if you fight all the dwarves in the area, she just gets murdered. But if you, I don't remember how many battles it is, like what the cutoff is.
It doesn't really say. It just says basically do as many fights as you can find,
Yeah, like
and
I
she'll
don't know how
die.
many fights you can do before she dies. But this is also where you get the first new mechanic that we talked about earlier. You get Frog Prince, because the water dragon's like, hey, I can't go with you, but you guys seem cool. Here's my subordinate.
Right.
Which, okay, that's a little weird, but you do you, dude. So with this new found ability, you talk to the fisherman, go back to the starting village, go back to another world. In case you haven't noticed, this is going to be a running theme going back and forth. And you finally are able to get into Mount Pyre. And so this is, again, yet another dungeon. So eventually you go through the dungeon and you run into Salt and Pepper, and this is where they teach you the magic stealing mechanic, which again we've already talked about. But you get to the end of this dungeon. There's a few little side paths you can take. But when you get to the last room, you see this giant creature stuck in the ground. Kind of looks like a dragon. But it looks like way different than the water dragon you just met. So you're like not sure. And then this out of nowhere, this little mini dragon comes out and is like, "Hey, want to fight?"
No.
And you fight him. And he's like, "Hey, you guys are pretty strong. See you later." And that's a thing. I think you can get the Inferno spell from him, but I didn't have the patience to get it because I mean I already had it. So but then you take a few steps forward and you are actually stopped by the Arcadia Knights or
Dragoons.
Dragoons. And it's all three of them, and you have a big old epic fight with all three of them. So you fight all three, and Harley appears and says, "Hey, this is your last chance, man. Like, you can either keep going, or like, there's no turning back after this." And the game actually gives you the choice of being like, "No, I'm gonna keep going," or, "All right, I'll go home." I don't actually know what happens if you choose, "I'll go home."
I mean, you can. I think she says like a little quip, and then you just go anyway.
Like, kid probably eggs you on or something.
Probably.
But we finally get to Fort Dragonia. And when we get in, we see the flash of a memory that we haven't had yet, that we've been seeing from the beginning of the game. And it seems like a kid gets stabbed, and we're holding a bloody dagger, and it's this whole thing. But this next dungeon just basically consists of kind of smaller little dungeons where you activate a crystal at the end of each. And those crystals seem to link to dragon statues somewhere. We don't know where yet. And we noticed that there are 6 of them. And there are 6 elements, and there are 6 dragons. So, but we go through, and eventually we get to the top, and we actually learn that this is the room that Lynx has been waiting for us in. This is the top. The statues with the dragons is the top. So we've been activating this tower, whatever it does. And in there, we see General Viper and Lynx. We fight General Viper. And when you defeat him, Lynx is like, nah, and stabs him. And just like, oh, cool. I don't want to work for you. So you end up fighting Lynx. And after you fight Lynx, he remarks, "Oh, you guys are tougher than I thought." And he remarks that you've been having these flashes of memories of like a panther attacking you, and he seems to suggest that he was the panther, but like he's somehow like in human form now. He doesn't say specifically like, "Yeah, that was me. I attacked you 10 years ago." And like, what up? But he seems to hint that he was the panther that attacked you. But we're not sure about that yet. Like he just kind of, like the game kind of subtly hints at that. And he asks you, what is your purpose? Like, why do you exist? Like, would the world be better off with or without you? And he then activates, they didn't use its name, but I'm going to go ahead and use its name. because it's kind of obvious what it is if you've been paying attention. He There's the frozen flame sitting on the pedestal, right? And it seems like this tower, like combined with the frozen flame, gives you the ability to do something, and Lynx activates it, and all of a sudden Surge gets this evil look on his face, and then Surge, who is the character or player in Surge, says something. He speaks for the first time, and you as the player are thinking, wait a second, Surge doesn't say anything, he's silent. What's going on? And Lynx is over there like, huh? What? And then you get into another battle with Lynx, only this time you are Lynx. And you are fighting yourself and your party. It's at this point that you are actually meant to lose this battle, but I actually won it, which I'll talk about. And Lynx in Surge's body mentions a girl named Luca, which if you played Chrono Trigger, is the name of a character from Chrono Trigger. One of the main characters from Chrono Trigger. Might be the same person. And then Kid's like, wait, I never told you that person's name. I just told you that, like, I went to an orphanarium, and Lynx and Surge body is like, oh. And then stabs Kid. And then he talks about, oh, now I have the key to the Gate of Fate, and he has the frozen flame. And he tells you, if you want to end this, follow me to the Sea of Eden. And then he sends you to this weird painting world. Like it's almost like this Van Gogh painting. And you do some little stuff. You find a hut. You can knock some fruit off a tree. Makes the person in the hut come out and grab it. And you can like sneak into their house. And this person's name is Sprig. You talk to this person for a while, and he talks about some weird stuff. Like he talks about like a lot of like, oh man, chaos kind of really does rule supreme, and nothing we really do does matters. He seems a little bit like a nihilist. Which is kind of odd. Nihilists have been coming up a lot in my life in random conversations. Like I was just talking to my girlfriend last night about it. I don't even remember why, but we started talking about Big Lebowski. But it's at this point that you are able to save. He allows you to stay the night at his place, and you're able to save. This is where you stopped. I went a little further, just a teensiest bit further, and I tried to leave. And Sprig was like, "Hey, what? You leaving without saying thanks?" And then is like, "Hey, you guys seem cool. I'm gonna go with you." And I'm just like, "Okay, random person I've never met before." So, and then this is the save point that we stop at. And so, after this episode, for the time being, and I think it's actually just the next episode, when we refer to Lynx, we will be talking about Surge. So we're basically going to be doing a name switch at this point. But yes, that is pretty much what has happened up until now. Thoughts, comments, any particular part that you want to go back and discuss?
Well, a little bit earlier when the thing with the dwarfs happen. What was kind of weird about going to that after having not had to go there to begin with, and having not saved
Kid.
Kid? What was weird was that they still blamed me, like humans in general, for them being there and killing the fairies, and it was like, but I didn't do anything.
I think the implied thing is that somebody went there and
Maybe,
did kill the Hydra.
I guess. Oh well, yeah, I guess that would make sense.
Like, it's
That
really interesting because, like, it seems like no matter what you choose in this game, the game keeps going, kind of. Like,
right.
whether you save Kid or not, somebody goes to the Hydra marshes in Homeworld and kills the last Hydra. Like, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting from this. Is like, no matter what happens, like, things are going to happen whether you do them or not.
I wonder if later we find out that the mysterious person is like a character that you can get, and that they, like, maybe it was like Mel or something, because I don't have Mel, and I don't
Right.
have Nikki, I don't have any of those characters.
You don't have Korcha.
I don't have Korcha, which, I mean, the doctor would know Korcha, because the doctor was like, it was a mysterious person.
Right.
A person that he didn't.
Well, and if it's somebody
Sorry,
in
I-
another world, that means they too would have had to have been able to pass between the two worlds, right?
Yeah.
So, and we don't know anyone else that can do that.
Well, the thing is we left the astral amulet there with Kid.
I mean, yeah, this is also true. Maybe Korcha found someone and, like, explained the whole situation.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it seems like the game is just like, all right, well, you made this choice. Well, stuff still happened without you.
I mean, I will say that the game has done things like that before, where it's like people join, like when you get Lena at the beginning of the game, she just joins for the hell of it.
Well, it's like
just super random.
the first big choice that you make between Nikki, Guile, and Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the game seems to insinuate that no matter who you choose, the other two move on and are doing something else.
Something
now.
else, yeah.
Like, Guile is no longer at the bar that you saw him at. Pierre is no longer at the blacksmith's house.
It's true.
So the game kind of is subtly hinting that, like, the game, certain things will happen with or without you.
Right.
So, which is a really interesting thing. Like, more so than in a game like Animal Crossing, where it's like, oh, this is like, the more you play the game, the more that stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can I don't want to say that because that might be getting too spoilery. But speaking of the dwarves, it's kind of a running theme throughout the game that humans are very wasteful. Humans are very take what they want and disregard.
I kind of figured that was just like the developers' way of being like, yeah, this whole climate change thing is kind of fucked, guys.
Well, I mean, you see it in other places. Like, you probably didn't do it, but you can actually go to where a bunch of demi-humans live.
I did go there, and they like all just basically tell you to fuck off.
Yeah. So it seems like among the other races that live in this universe, humans are not looked upon that great by the rest of them.
Well, it's
I mean,
kind of
even the fairies, like
yeah.
afterwards, whether you save Rasley's sister or not, kind of blame you for the dwarves showing up.
Right.
And like, I mean, it kind of is your fault. Whether it's you as the player or you as the human race.
Right.
So, but it's kind of a recurring theme in the game. And also, this is kind of the point in the game where like some of the characters we get are just like seemingly random. Like you said, you got Glenn, and it's like, how are you so? I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I talked about this with my girlfriend and maybe mentioned it to you. How the fuck are you supposed to know that you can get Glenn by ignoring Kid?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Glenn seems like a pretty important character in the story. And, like, you go through your first time, you save Kid because you're like, yeah, I got to save the damsel in distress, whatever. And then you don't get the badass knight character.
Yeah, it's kind
Like,
of weird.
like maybe it's like something the game is doing on purpose. Like, your actions will always have consequences, and sometimes those consequences are seemingly random. Like, maybe that's what the game is trying to get across.
Maybe.
I mean, that would kind of fit with the whole, like, shit's gonna happen whether you play the game or not. Whether you make this choice or that choice. As long as you play the game, shit's gonna happen. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it may be one of those things where it's like it's trying to basically show you that no matter what you do, the world moves on and things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And you can take the opportunity given to you to try to change them, or you can ignore that opportunity and maybe something will happen from someone else, or maybe that thing will just never happen and that particular person will no longer exist, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and like I said, like, I don't know if that was the intention. But I mean, I can tell you that it kind of works in context with Chrono Cross. Like, no, what your decisions have unintended consequences, whether they are things you can
Right.
see or whether they are things you can't possibly foresee. Like, not saving Kid, getting one of the best characters in the game.
Right, and I think
Like,
it kind of plays hand in hand with what they did with like some of the side characters, like little tiny side missions or like side stories that happened in the our first episode that we talked about, like the stuff with Van and Go, and like the
oh
stuff
yeah,
with the fisherman that like in the other world made that one decision and became like some crazy fanatical,
right.
instead of being a fisherman and like living a happy life because he decided to do what he wanted to do. Like, it's that kind of, I think it's a continuation of that idea of like one decision, which can seem super small in the grand scheme of things, still has overarching consequences or overarching changes in people's lives.
Yeah. I'm still gonna be mad about the fact that I don't get Glenn because I saved Kid.
I think,
Like,
do you
I want.
I don't know. Do you just not get Glenn no matter what now?
Yeah. You
Oh,
cannot get Glenn if you save Kid.
huh.
He
I didn't know that.
is just not available to you. The only way you can get Glenn in your party, as far as I know, is by refusing to save Kid.
Huh.
So,
Interesting.
but but I mean that brings up a good point of like, does it really matter if the writers or developers, or producers or directors or anything meant for this thing to mean this?
Yeah.
Like, does it matter that that it fits well within the game's context, whether they intended it to or not? Like, does that change? Like, if the developers came out and said, "Yeah, no, we didn't intend for it to mean that. We just thought it would be like a cool little secret." Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you go down to this other path and you get this really cool character.
Right.
Does that change? Does that change anything?
Hmm.
You know, my go-to example of this, and I've talked about this with people before, is in Final Fantasy 13. The whole game is about you basically are running from the cops. Like, you're running from authority.
Right.
Like, you are fugitives on the run. And it is not until you get off Cocoon, the main area, and go to the other area, that the game is like, okay, now you can kind of do what you want.
Yeah.
And the
yeah,
developers have the guy that made the game, like I think it was the director, came out and said, we didn't make linear level designs because we wanted you to feel chased. Like, we wanted you to feel like you only could move forward.
Right.
Like, we did that because we wanted to make the prettiest game we possibly could. And if we had made it all open world, it would not have looked as nice.
Hmm.
But narratively, it kind of works. Like, because
Right,
you're
'cause-
on the run, you can only move forward. You can't go back to that area you were just at because now it's swarming with cops.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
And narratively, it's like it makes sense because it's the idea of you made that one decision. Now you have to just all you can do is just move forward with that decision.
yeah.
And deal with whatever happens because of that.
Yeah, and it's not until you get to the other area where the government is like, oh, well, I guess they're gone, that you're like, oh, the game opens up.
Yeah.
And so it brings up this really neat idea of like, does it matter that the developers have come out and said, no, we didn't actually intend for that to be a thing. We made linear level designs because we wanted to make the game as pretty as we possibly could, and the only way to do that was to make very restrictive levels. Like, I think it doesn't really matter. At that point.
No, because I mean, sometimes
it's like an author writing a book and then coming out and being like, "No, I didn't intend for that."
well,
Like, the classic example is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is an analogy for World War II. Or no,
Right.
World War I.
World War I, yeah.
Tolkien was like, no, it's not. But like the hobbits going in Mordor and like going from pit to pit.
Right.
Like trench to trench to trench. That was what Tolkien experienced in World War One.
Right.
Like, whether he intended it or not, it's an allegory for World War One. Like,
Right.
I think it goes to like the whole, at what point does the creator no longer get to make decisions
Well,
about a thing?
it comes from the fact that, well, especially when it comes to writing and storytelling in general, you write what you know. So if it's something that either you have personal experience with, or it's something that, um in the instance of like Final Fantasy 13, it's they were probably unconsciously thinking, what do we need to do to get them from being chased by the cops to where they're no longer being chased by the cops, type of thing. And just unconsciously being like, well, we have this limited amount of resources to be able to get them from point A to point B, within a certain amount of period. What can
while
we do?
achieving a certain fidelity level.
Right. And it just so happened that because of the story beats that they were going through, it also just seemed it fit in that as well.
So you think it's almost like an unconscious decision?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
That's interesting. Because I mean, for me, I firmly believe that once a creator has created a thing and said, "All right, that's it, the thing is done,"
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what they say. The only thing that matters is what is in the medium.
Right.
Whether it's you're reading Lord of the Rings and it's what's in the text. Whether you're playing Final Fantasy 13 and what does it feel like.
Well, and there's also the idea that, each person is going to have their own interpretation of media.
Oh, yeah, so, and I think that's one of the powerful things with games is, like, everyone can bring their own viewpoint. Like, somebody that, thinks very differently from us is going to play a game like Chrono Cross and, like, I'm a firm believer of, like, we need to, like, make environmental changes. So, like, I see the dwarves and stuff, and I'm like, yeah. Fuck us. Like, we suck.
Whereas someone that doesn't believe that there are issues with the environment sees
or thinks
the dwarves as, the insane people that think, there are things that are wrong with the environment and therefore are the bad guy,
Yeah. So, we got a little off topic there, but
yeah, I mean,
I tried to bring it back to Chrono Cross there at the end.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting playing games and, like, thinking about, like, what was the intention versus, all right, it doesn't matter what the intention was. This is what I think.
Sure.
Like, I think video games are very unique in that a lot of times the creator loses control of their original intent. And then it's like, okay, well, does this new story even, like, you can kind of elaborate, like, take, for example, Halo. Reach was the last game that Bungie made. So does Halo 4, 5, and Infinite even matter?
Right.
Like, is that canonical? It gets into the whole question of, like, what is canonical versus what is not canonical. I'm in the firm belief of canonical is up to the individual. Like, I like Star Wars. I hate the prequels. I hate the sequels to the original trilogy. Like, I mean, I like the first two movies. But the last movie was terrible.
Really just ruined those characters.
Yeah, and so for me, I'm like, all right, that movie didn't happen. Like, just it ends at The Last Jedi. Like, that's where Star Wars stops. So, um, any other story things you want to bring up? Um, I really liked
Well,
the
go ahead.
level design in Fort Dragonia. I thought some of those puzzles they had you do were I really liked the one with you open the treasure chest and it moves like a pathway.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That I've not seen.
Like it was just a neat thing because I went up to it being like, ooh, lots of treasure, and then I opened it
Right.
and I was
Yeah.
like, wait, what? No, where's my
Yeah.
treasure?
Yeah. Um. Yeah. That was pretty cool. Uh. That entire dungeon was like the one that I had the most issue with was the one where you have to like rearrange your party to have it like
Oh,
move where
yeah.
the,
Well,
the
there's
stuff is.
also they don't tell you that if you hit select, it will rearrange your party and it still counts as changing it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, speaking of rearranging your party, I brought up the thing in the last episode that we did about I couldn't wait to go back to Homeworld with Lena to have Lena talk to Lena.
oh yeah.
And she was like, so you walk up to her and I don't remember exactly what she says, but it's like she's like, "Oh, you look familiar." And then she's like, "Well, I hope you take care of him." And that's like basically it. I mean, it's nothing like really
I think certain
substantial or
characters
anything.
have better interactions with themselves.
Yeah,
There's
but
one that I'm specifically thinking of that's like pretty great.
oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, I think it's probably one of those things where it's like they just had to have some kind of acknowledgement of it,
Yeah.
so they just kind of like threw some lines together. Um,
So I guess the real the huge thing to talk about story wise is obviously where we stop and the fact that you switch bodies with Lynx and
yes,
like
which leads me to I beat my own party.
right,
And it
yeah,
is
because you're
the
playing New Game Plus.
first fight that actually gave me any kind of semblance of challenge.
Yeah.
Like I had to heal multiple times, and I will say I went in with Surge, Kid, and Nikki. Nikki is a resilient little fuck. Like I had more problems taking out Nikki than any other character. Nikki did more damage to me than anybody else.
Huh.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, why aren't my like? It really frustrates me because it's at this point that you really learn that the game does not play by its own rules. The enemies
Yeah.
don't play by the rules that you have set
Oh,
out
they
for
definitely
you.
they definitely do not.
Because if you go into that fight and you're like, all right, I know what's gonna happen, and you unequip everything and you unequip all their spells and everything, they still have everything.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, what do you? No, I knew this was coming. I took precautions. You should reward me for that game.
Yeah, that's kind of shitty.
Like it really it's one of the things that really frustrates me. Like I get it. Like older games had to be kind of made that way because like AI just wasn't smart enough to figure stuff out on its own, and so it needed certain
Right.
scripts to like, okay, if this then that. If you get attacked, then you attack back, or if they do so much damage, then you need to heal, or whatever.
Right.
And like maybe like because if you look at it like, Super Bunny Hop actually did a really good video Let me see if I can find it. Um, oh, what was it called? Something about bots. A brief history of bots.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and it's actually really interesting because like you learn that like the first game that really had bots in it was Quake,
Right.
right? And like from your perspective, just playing as the player, it seems like the bots are pretty good. Like they hunt you down. They're really good because they have aim bots.
Mm-hmm.
But as it turns out, they're actually really dumb. Like they
Mm-hmm.
are real. Like in Quake 1, the every other NPC character, every other bot character doesn't move until they see a player. Like they just stand perfectly still.
Hmm.
And it's like there's actually like a lot of like stuff like written in. Like Quake 2 has them like hunting down power-ups. And so there you're like you hunt down the power-ups, they hunt down the power-ups, you guys meet up.
Right.
But like you learn that AI back then really wasn't that smart. Even though it kind of felt like it. Like um but it's because they had all these like little hidden scripts behind them basically telling them what to do.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
if
So
you
like,
haven't seen Super Bunny Hop's video, a brief history on bots and why bots are still important today and should still be included in games, I highly recommend you watch it. It's a really good video, and he actually interviews somebody that works specifically on like bot and stuff.
hmm.
So it's a really good video. Highly recommend. Um, but it's just like it's still kind of frustrating, like going back to these older games, and the AI just does not play by the same set of rules. And it's just like, come on, just like it's really nice to see games nowadays where they very much do play by the same rules. Like if you
Right.
pulled that stunt where you like unequip everything and like in like a modern game, like that would I could totally see that working in like a new Final Fantasy or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah. Probably.
or like you have to fight yourself and you purposely give yourself a really crappy weapon from the beginning of the game. So I get it's just it's made me appreciate how far we've come in terms of um like how NPCs act. So
Mm. Mm. Hmm.
because it really was like back in the day, everything was scripted, um, like, and you can kind of see it in some of these battles, like the mini dragon guy, like I would just sit there and defend, and he would always attack, fire breath, attack, fire breath, attack, fire breath, attack, fire breath. I'm like,
Right.
how are you
Right.
get one? How do you have this many fire breaths? Because it's your special ability. I only have one of them. Two,
Right.
how are you getting to like even level 3 spells? Like,
Yeah, it's kind of cheaty.
like it's just it really frustrates me sometimes when games do that. So, but I mean, it's product of the time. So,
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately. Um but
what else was there? I mentioned my thing. I beat my own party. It was really nice. Tablet's about to die.
Mm-hmm. I mean, really, like I said, like the big thing is just the stuff at the end, and
Yeah, Link
you know,
switching bodies with you is a pretty big deal. I want to know, why do you think he did it?
oh,
Why do you think that was Link's goal? Was to get you to Fort Dragonia? Because it almost seems like he played you a little bit. Like he knew you were going to go chase after him to Fort Dragonia, and then he would be able to get you to activate stuff. And it's like, why do you think that was? Why do you think he took Surge's body? I mean, I kind of gave away why I think that just now.
I mean, for me, I think it's more. I think he's built up this what's the word I'm looking for? Like, everybody knows that he's like a bad guy, basically.
Yeah.
So, and it seems like the people that the places that he's wanting to go are places that Surge has been and done good things. So, like, there's a possibility that there's that, but he's telling you to go to the
yeah, he's also like egging you on. Like, he's like, if you want to get back at me, come to the Sea of Eden.
Well, it's not even getting back at him. It's if you want to know, like, he basically
if you want to know what's going on, yeah, come to the Sea of Eden. Yeah, but like,
so I think because before, where he called you the Chrono Trigger, I think he needs Surge to be able to open up whatever he's trying to open up with the egg.
I mean, he did call you. He did say he finally had the key, and the only thing that changed was he had your body, implying that you were the key that he needed.
Oh, see, that's interesting, because I took that as when you did the thing that lit up all of the dragons, it did something to the egg.
Oh, the frozen flame?
Or the frozen flame, yeah. So I was under the impression that meant that whatever happened with the frozen flame and it being on that pedestal, like that, became the key. But then
I always interpreted it as Surge was the key.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really specifically mention the frozen flame.
Right. And I mean, I guess that does make sense, because,
or whatever this orb is. I'm pretty sure it's the frozen flame.
It is the frozen flame, yeah.
It's what they mentioned earlier, saying that he had the frozen flame. I mean, we still don't know why Kid was looking for that. We still don't know what the importance of it is, other than it can apparently switch people's bodies.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be it, really.
So,
is that it can switch?
Like, do you think there's more to it, or do you think, like, nah, that's all it does? Oh, I
think I think there's a possibility that there's more to it.
Yeah.
I think it could be one of those things where it's like, like, now it has other power. But I think, now that I'm thinking about it, I think you're right. I think it is that it's he needed Kid's body, or not Kid's body, but
Surge
Surge's body.
body.
And the thing that you did made it to where the frozen flame could switch bodies.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
otherwise, why wouldn't he
that
have
was
done
kind of
that?
my implication that like seems somehow special.
Yes.
And it's almost like only he would have been able to activate these crystals or something. Like only he would have been able to take this orb or this frozen flame or whatever it is. I keep calling it the frozen flame, but we don't know for sure. It's just that's kind of the only name we have for it.
Right.
So it seems almost like he needs his body in some way. But then there's still the question of like, what is the connection between Lynx and Surge? Like, is Lynx actually the Panther that the game is kind of hinting that like attacked Surge 10 years ago when he was a kid?
I mean, I very much think so at this point. At this point, but
then it's like, why does he have a humanoid body then?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, we haven't seen anything like that in the world.
True.
So, and I mean, we've also had our first connection to Chrono Trigger with a character being called Luca.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, I mean, obviously there's the connection to Chrono Trigger by him calling you the Chrono Trigger.
I mean, yeah. But that almost feels more like just a reference.
Yeah.
Because like in Chrono Trigger, it was very specific about what the Chrono Trigger was. And you are very clearly not that.
Right.
So I don't know if that was like something that was like got missed in translation or what, or maybe they just didn't think about it and they thought it was a cool callback and
maybe, yeah.
But I mean, I guess we'll find out as we continue on. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up? Favorite part, favorite dungeon so far.
Favorite dungeon so far. I mean, obviously it's gonna be. I mean, Fort Dragonia more because of the music than anything. Like, I was really digging the music.
See, I've heard the music so much that like I don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I've listened to it so much that I just kind of like, oh yeah, it's the song. So I don't really, I don't notice the music in that way where it's like, oh man, the music for this area is really good. I'm just like, oh yeah, it's this one song.
Yeah.
So it's very different for me because I very much I've listened to the soundtrack a lot. So
that makes sense.
I mean, my favorite dungeon would probably so far is either Viper Manor or Fort Dragonia. I really liked the like kind of mini dungeons inside it. I thought that was a really cool idea. The puzzle where you had to switch bodies,
it wasn't great.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But like it also wasn't that hard. None of the puzzles were particularly like the hardest one was the one where you had to navigate the weird maze thing.
Yeah.
Like, and that was only hard in order to get like one piece of treasure, which really I remember getting it and being like, really, that's all it is.
Yeah.
So Um, what do you think is up with this Harley character? Like, she seems to be working with Lynx, but like, she also was like, "Hey, now's your last chance. Like, turn back now. You gonna turn back? You should really turn back." Like, she seems to want you to stop, but it almost seems like if you stop, then like if you didn't go to Fort Dragonia and Surge is the key, like
Right.
wouldn't it have been better if you just stayed in your village? Like,
Yeah.
so then why would she be like, you should stop. You should just go home. Live your little human life. So
I don't know. I don't remember much about the character. She's still my favorite character, and I know you
yeah.
hate her because of how.
I mean, I just hate phonetic spelling for dialects. And it's true for all the characters in Chrono Cross.
I want to say I remember something about in the end
It
Surge
didn't
is
really
actually the
matter.
bad guy. Surge is actually the bad guy.
Oh, okay.
I think I remember something about that. That it turns out that
I think
Link's...
I know what you're talking about. I think you might just be thinking of how Lynx dresses Surge when he's in possession of his body.
Maybe.
Like I think that's what you might be thinking of. Also, I totally forgot to put up the spoiler. Warning.
Yeah, we'll just have to do something about that.
Wow.
Thing.
We're still new at this. We're working on it.
Right.
Anything else that you can think of?
Not that I can think of. I think that's it.
Okay. Well, we're gonna end off here. So the next stopping point, I don't have it exactly, but we're gonna have a bit more time. So, I can tell you it's going to be after you finish the place that Lynx mentioned, the Sea of Eden. So after we go there and we like finish that area, okay.
Yeah.
As I get closer to it, I will be sure to try to give a description of the stopping point without spoiling anything next week. But next week, we are going to be discussing a shorter game. I know we said last time we were going to play Halo Reach, but life kind of got in the way. I started playing Halo Infinite. Whole bunch of stuff happened.
A whole bunch of stuff.
So, but this time we are going to play one of my favorites, which is the Prince of Persia reboot. It is just titled Prince of Persia. I think it came out in 2008.
Yes, 2008.
So some people refer to it as Prince of Persia 2008.
2008, yeah.
But I might be streaming it. You could probably actually stream it easier because you're going to be playing it on PC, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you might actually think about streaming it.
And you can actually, speaking of PC, you can get it on Steam right now for literally $2.
And I want to reiterate to people that even if you can't play these games, like you don't have time or whatever, if you want to like read up on like what happens, or you want to watch someone else play it, that is perfectly okay. We want people to be able to participate in the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So and any way you consume the media is fine. We're not going to give anyone crap or like haze anyone for I actually played the game.
No, yeah, I mean, like if you don't have time to play through Chrono Cross, by all means, watch somebody play through it,
or just read a synopsis,
or just read a synopsis. I mean,
I know there's a lot
plenty
of them
things
out there that are kind of like not in the they're in chronological order. But you just kind of have to specify like order it happens in the game.
Right.
So, but yeah, any way that people consume and participate in the discussion. And I would actually love if some people would just watch and give us their thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah. Yeah, and we had a person comment on their first video that they didn't have access to a PS2, to be able to, and
emulation is always a thing. Let's plays are always a thing.
Definitely.
So we're gonna try to do as many live streams of us playing the game. But like we're both busy and we don't have infinite free time. So unless we make this our full-time thing, which at this point we're just kind of doing this just because we really want to play through a bunch of old games.
Yeah, I mean,
or just games that we've bought and never gotten to.
Yeah.
And this is the way that we're like getting ourselves to play it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, maybe we'll experiment with this next game on like streaming in some way.
Yeah, I mean, it is a shorter game, so we could probably do something with that. And it may be something to where we can do a better job.
You want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, so me, social-wise, I mean, I'm more Straconis on literally everything when it comes to social stuff. If I do stream anything when it comes video game wise, it's going to be on YouTube. My Twitch is mainly there for stuff I do when it comes to like Madden football stuff. Within that, which I mean, if you want to stop by and say hi when that's happening, by all means. I sometimes pay attention to the chat, but
do you have anything going on this week?
This week, well, I mean, we're gonna start playing Prince of Persia, so there's a possibility that I may stream that sometime.
Okay.
I don't know, if I start doing some fun stuff in Magic, I might fuck around and stream that or something.
Oh, okay.
So
that would be neat.
Yeah.
With me, my social is Lady Farah. We still need to fix my tag on Twitter. It just says Lady Farah. On Twitter, it's Lady Farah 14. On Twitch and YouTube, it's Lady Farah. If I stream, I usually stream to YouTube. Recently, I have been working on building the ultimate Nintendo Switch Pro controller. So I got like custom colored buttons in here. I got clicky buttons in it, swappable sticks, and I'm actually going to be later tonight, probably around 6 or 6:30. Gonna be streaming, finishing it up because I have my D-pad in here that is removable, but it still needs a little bit of work, so I'm gonna be streaming that tonight. So if you guys want to see that, or you want to catch any of the previous works that I've done on this controller, it is all on my YouTube channel, Lady Farah.
Definitely.
Which is also where you will find these podcasts as well.
And if you go back and look, she has like a really cool, like really good camera to like kind of look down at what she's doing.
Yeah, I just got this camera. My girlfriend's old, student camera from when she was in grad school. So I'm able to like zoom in better and whatnot. Also, there is our Discord. So Backlog Cast Discord. It is open to anyone. There's no like join waitlists or anything like that.
No, come and hang out.
So all of our socials and Discord links are in the description of the stream. And I believe it should be in the description of the video that's made afterwards.
Absolutely, and will also be in the description for the podcast later when it's posted to Spotify. We're on Spotify, we're on Podbean, and we're on Google Podcasts. We are still not on Apple Podcasts. Their shit's ridiculous, and I'm not dealing with that.
I mean, that seems to be a running theme. Linus from Linus Tech Tips is having a problem with Flow playing and Apple stuff.
Yeah. It's a pain in the ass.
But that is gonna be it for us. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And hope you guys enjoy playing Prince of Persia. It's one of my favorite games. I really like it, despite it has its flaws, but I still love it. Like I said, we will pick Chrono Cross back up after next week. We're gonna shoot for every week. But
try to.
If we don't, we will be better about posting like, hey, we guys can't do the podcast this week. Or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything else?
Did we say what the next stopping point is for Chrono Cross when we do come back for that?
I just gave the general after the Sea of Eden.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because actually after the Sea of Eden, the game opens up a bit and you're able to do like some side missions.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll post in the Discord and on my Twitter a more specific stopping point, and I'll mention it next week when we talk about Prince of Persia.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well,
I think that's everything.
Again, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, rest of your day, rest of your night, rest of whatever. And we will talk to you guys next time.
Yeah, just stay safe and have a good one. Bye.